As the city prepares for the holiday long weekend packed full of events, there's potential for long lineups and traffic chaos along the lakeshore. Good afternoon. It is shaping up to be a fun-filled long weekend. City
staff are encouraging residents to enjoy the festivities, but also to plan ahead. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live at Nathan Phillips Square today to bring us the details. Beth.
Natalie, there's a lot going on in the city this long weekend, and the city wants people to be prepared. First up, expect heavy and slow traffic depending on where you're heading. The city is encouraging people to walk, cycle, or take transit. Some good news on this front, all subways will be running as per usual. Now, when it comes to the weather and the heat, the city wants people to be prepared for the sun. They want people to stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and to cool down when they need to avoid feeling unwell. There is a lot going on, as I mentioned, in the city, from special food and craft markets, and all the city amenities like the High Park Zoo, pools, and museums will be open. The city says 4 of the 5 ferries to the Toronto Island will be in service, and there are ways to help beat a long wait.
Let's talk about Toronto Island Park. Like any major attraction, it's going to be busy. Any major attraction sees a lot of people on any given long weekend, and this weekend is no exception. And so what we're asking people is to plan ahead, try to travel, during non-peak hours. That means, catching the ferry to the island anywhere. The busiest times are between 10 to 2, so anytime, after that or before that would be great. And then in returning to the city, the busiest times are 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so again, we're asking people to plan ahead. Keep that in mind as you are heading to and from the island. And of course, book your tickets online. It helps streamline the process and it makes things a lot easier.
Driving and road safety is also a big concern this long weekend. The OPP are launching 2 campaigns. One, move over for emergency vehicles, and the Big 4. The Big 4 are speeding, impaired driving, distracted driving, and seatbelt compliance. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Beth McDonnell. Natalie, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Toronto Caribbean Carnival festivities kicked off last night at Exhibition Place with a King and Queen showcase. Participants showed off elaborate costumes and competed to be named the Carnival's King and Queen. Panda Live takes place tonight, and the Caribbean Carnival's main event, the Grand Parade, takes place tomorrow. Mayor Olivia Chow reflected on the importance of the celebrations to the city as a whole.
Well, the Caribbean Festival not only enriches people in Toronto, bring color and joy in our lives, it actually attracts huge number of tourists in Toronto. The hotels, the spending, the economic benefits is phenomenal year after year. And also making young people feeling proud of their culture and their heritage, that's also precious.
And here's a look at the Grand Parade route tomorrow along the lakeshore and through the X grounds. Gates open at 7 a.m. with opening ceremonies at 8:30.
Still ahead, Canada nets its 9th medal of the Paris Olympics. We've got the highlights from all the action coming up a little later in the newscast.
And we've got more news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast heading into the long weekend. Here's a live shot. There are some clouds. Rain is expected, and you can see the satellite radar. Rain's to the south of us, and it's hitting some areas as we speak. And with that, there are watches and warnings throughout the GTHA. And also, look at London. They're expecting 50 millimeters of rain today, so that's why you've got a rainfall warning. Right now, it's already hot, 25 in Toronto, 26 in Peterborough, 30, make that 24 in Hamilton, but feels like 35 with the Humidex, another hot one. We'll give you a look at the long-range forecast to help you plan a little bit later in the show.
Well, sentencing for former fashion mogul Peter Nygard has been postponed once again.
The request for an adjournment coming from the Crown. CTV's Janice Golding is outside the courthouse with an update. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, Peter Nygard's sentencing hearing has been delayed once again, despite the fact a judge had expressed just last month that he was very reluctant to brook any more delays. Peter Nygard's fate is still up in the air after his sentencing hearing was postponed until next month. The 83-year-old appeared via Zoom in virtual court. The disgraced fashion mogul could be seen lying in his hospital bed at the Toronto South Detention Centre, covered in blankets and clad in an orange prison jumpsuit with a visor obscuring most of his face as lawyers discussed an adjournment. Court heard that Crown Attorney Neville Gowalla was out of the country and could not be present and had therefore requested the adjournment to find a date when all counsel would be available. Justice Robert Goldstein agreed to an adjournment until September 9th, but added, "It will happen. It will be in person. Nygard will be there in person." Nygard was convicted by a jury last November of 4 counts of sexual assault, namely of attacking 3 women and a 16-year-old girl at his former Toronto headquarters between the 1980s and 2005. A Crown attorney had described Nygard's behavior as predatory, saying he'd used his wealth, his privilege, his resources, and his reputation to his advantage. The octogenarian was acquitted of a 5th count of sex assault as well as one of forcible confinement. The founder of Nygard International is also facing charges in Montreal and Winnipeg, as well as New York. Now the Crown has urged the judge for a 15-year sentence. Meanwhile, the defense is asking for 6 years. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. A homicide investigation is underway in Stratford after a deadly quadruple shooting last night. Police say there were multiple 911 calls to the area of Bradshaw and McCarthy Road West at around 10:45 last night. When they arrived, they found 4 people with gunshot wounds. 2 of the victims did not survive. 2 others were rushed to hospital in London, one with life-threatening injuries and one with life-altering injuries. Few other details have been released as police canvassed the area for witnesses and evidence.
York Regional Police are sharing the results of a coordinated effort to arrest a trio of carjacking suspects. Police shared this video from Tuesday in Markham. They say a victim was loading items into their car in a mall parking lot near McCowan and Highway 7. 2 suspects were then dropped off in an SUV and demanded the keys to the victim's vehicle. The victim didn't suffer any injuries. After the suspects drove off, the police helicopter was able to spot them.
I have actually 2 people kind of hiding in the trees. I can only see them on thermal. They might be just lovers and unrelated, but looks kind of unusual.
The helicopter caught sight of the 2 suspects and the victim's vehicle near Dufferin and Clark in Vaughan, and they were quickly arrested by officers on the ground. A 3rd suspect was arrested in Toronto on Wednesday. 32-year-old Jamile Johnson, 31-year-old Anthony Stoner, and 20-year-old Jamar Wilson, all of Toronto, face multiple charges.
Toronto police have arrested a suspect accused of setting a fire at a Jewish school this week. Emergency crews were called to Leo Beck Day School around 3:45 in the morning on Tuesday. They found a shed on fire, the heat from the blaze breaking several school windows. Police have now arrested 34-year-old Mark Anthony Dela Cruz on charges of arson and failing to comply with probation. Police say he'd been using the shed for shelter and he was seen leaving it just before the fire started. The school had removed his belongings a few hours prior. Investigators have not alleged the incident was hate motivated. And Toronto police say an officer was assaulted this morning in East York. They say it happened just before 9 a.m. near Todmorden Mills Road and Pottery Road. It's reported the officer was checking on the well-being of a person sleeping in a vehicle when they were assaulted by that individual. The driver was arrested. Paramedics described the injuries as minor. And 2 people are in hospital with serious injuries after a man crashed a U-Haul truck into a home in Etobicoke. This was the scene just after 7 last night at Kipling and Brookmere Road. A U-Haul crashed into a house, causing damage to the property. The driver of the vehicle became trapped and was rescued by fire crews. Both the driver and a person in the home were taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Paramedics say both the victims are men, one in their 60s and the other in their 30s. The cause of the crash remains under investigation.
Well, it is a frightening form of cybercrime and involves suspects taking over cell phone accounts by impersonating customers.
Toronto police have announced 10 people are facing hundreds of charges in connection with what's called the SIM swap scam. CTV's Sean Leathong has the details.
It's a type of fraud that can happen right under your nose. Criminals gathering enough information to take over your phone without even taking your phone.
So they can break into your email, they can change your passwords, lock you out. So once they get in, the damage is done.
Toronto police announced 10 arrests and 108 charges as part of Project Disrupt, an investigation taking aim at the SIM swap scam. It starts with fraudsters cyber stalking a victim to gather information. Next, they'll create fake IDs and use the information to convince a wireless provider that they are you, switching your account to a new device, and then use two-step verification to take over your accounts.
When you lose control of your identity and when it's being corrupted and used by these fraudsters to commit these offenses, to steal your money, it's terrifying.
Toronto police first became aware of this scam in 2021. As it grew, they launched Project Disrupt over a year ago. According to police, once criminals have access to your phone, they can simply access email or bank accounts by hitting the Forgot My Password link. Then,
any messages sent thereafter, whether it be from your financial institutions, whether it be from your email accounts, whether it be social media, is going directly to them and not to you.
So there's accounts taken over, they can access it. It's pretty malicious, and they usually go after everything they can.
in their investigation, police seized over 400 fake IDs, noting that over 1,500 devices had been compromised and over $1 million stolen.
According to police, one major difference between a SIM swap and other types of cybercrime is that in the case of a SIM swap, the criminals are local and the victims are specifically targeted.
It's probably one of the most terrifying forms of cybercrime imaginable just because it's so personal.
Tech expert Carmi Levy points out that the criminals start by learning as much as they can about their target.
They're almost cyber stalking you. At some point, they have to go to a wireless store, a phone store, a mobile service store, and impersonate you, pretend to be you.
Ways to protect yourself are be aware of what you're posting online, update privacy settings, make sure you're not giving answers to security questions, and call your wireless provider to ask for port protection.
These suspects are here. They're nearby. They're living amongst us because they're attending the cell phone stores in the GTA, in Ontario, across Canada.
According to police, there are still two suspects outstanding. They are 47-year-old Nadia Campitelli and 26-year-old Hervine Umutajima, each for multiple charges.
Shantley Thong, CTV News.
In Alberta, the wildfire in Jasper National Park is expected to expand today with hot, dry weather in the forecast. The out-of-control blaze now covers about 39,000 hectares. Crews are working to extinguish hotspots around the town of Jasper as thousands of evacuees await word on when they can return. There will be supervised visits first so residents can see their homes, but no date has been set for that just yet. There are 118 wildfires burning in Alberta's forest protection area, 19 of which are out of control. About 560,000 hectares of land have burned so far this year.
Paul Whelan is back on American soil after being freed as part of that large prisoner swap with Russia. The Canadian-born corporate security executive was among 3 former captives who arrived at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland shortly before midnight. They were greeted by their families, along with the U.S. president and vice president. 24 people were set free in the biggest prisoner swap in post-Soviet history yesterday. Whelan spoke earlier today at a Texas military base where he and the other 2 former detainees are receiving medical evaluations.
Could you describe the moment of coming back home?
Oh, it was nice. It was nice. You know, it didn't feel real until we were flying over England. I'm a British citizen, Irish citizen, Canadian, and American. So as we came over England and I looked down, you know, that's when it became real. We flew over Ireland, then Canada, and into America, and then I knew I was home.
Whelan described being imprisoned as absolute nonsense by the Russian government. The prisoner exchange follows years of back-channel negotiations between the 2 countries, despite relations being at their lowest point since the Cold War after Russia invaded Ukraine.
Canada's Sophia Methode has won the bronze in women's trampoline gymnastics. The 25-year-old is making her Olympic debut in Paris. She earned a score of 55.650 in the single exercise earlier today, behind Britain's Briony Page. After missing the podium in Tokyo, Canada can now lay claim to having won a medal at 6 of the 7 games since the sport made its Olympic debut in year 2000. For more Team Canada Olympic highlights, we are joined by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, thank you for joining us. Canada is adding to its medal count already today. Scott, tell us about our latest bronze medalist.
Natalie, Sophia Methode is adding to the rich history of Canadian gymnastics at the Olympic Games. As you mentioned, since its inception into the Olympic program, At Sydney 2000, Canada has been on the podium on the women's side in every single Olympics now, except for Tokyo, when we finished just off the podium in fourth in Tokyo. So quite a rich history for the Canadian women in the trampoline program. And Sofiane Meteau, the 25-year-old, making her Olympic debut in Paris, adding to that and adding to our overall total. We now have 9 medals, 3 gold, 2 silver, and with this latest medal, 4 bronze, Natalie.
Okay, let's talk tennis next, Scott. How are Canadian tennis players doing today?
Felix Auger-Aliassime played earlier today in the men's singles semifinal against Carlos Alcaraz, and Carlos Alcaraz ended up winning that semifinal. So Felix still has a chance to play for a medal. He'll be in the bronze medal match in the men's singles tournament, but he's back on the court already in the mixed doubles competition with Gabby Dabrowski. So they are on the court right now, and that is the bronze medal match. So Felix Auger-Aliassime still has a chance at 2 medals on the court right now in a bronze medal match in the mixed doubles competition, and he still has a chance for the bronze medal in the match in the men's singles competition. So quite an impressive Olympics for Felix Auger-Aliassime, and still has a chance to walk away with 2 medals.
Okay, and Scott, finally looking ahead to this afternoon, what other medal opportunities might be in store for Team Canada?
We're watching Damian Warner right now. Not a medal opportunity today. This is the men's decathlon, and he is the reigning Olympic champion. The decathlon program got underway today, but it'll continue for another day because there are so many events. But he's the reigning Olympic champion. He also took home bronze in Rio, so he's looking for his 3rd straight Olympic podium. And after several events, he was sitting in the top 3. We're also keeping an eye on men's hammer throw. We don't talk about hammer throw that much, but we have a good chance at 1, maybe 2 medals. Reigning world champion from Chilliwack, BC, Ethan Katzberg, qualifying first in his group. The finals will take place on Sunday. He's not the only Canadian in the mix. Fellow BC native Rowan Hamilton also qualifying for the finals on Sunday with a top score in his group. So 2 chances at a medal there in men's hammer throw. And Natalie, we haven't won a medal in men's hammer throw since 1912, so just a little while ago.
Okay, CTV's Scott Hurst. Thank you, Scott, for joining us on the latest from Paris.
Thanks,
Olympics.
Natalie.
Meanwhile, Canada will not be awarded a bronze medal in team figure skating from the 2022 Winter Olympics. Russian skater Kamila Valieva was disqualified after being found guilty of doping earlier in the season. That dropped the Russians from 1st to 3rd in the event and elevated the United States to gold and Japan to silver. Now, it was thought Canada, which finished 4th, would be promoted to bronze, but the International Skating Union said the Russian team's total score was still a point better than the Canadians, even after Valieva's marks were erased. Now, Canada appealed, and today it was rejected. The court says the points were correctly reallocated. Canadian officials say they're disappointed with the decision. Well, looking at the forecast, still very muggy. Some spotty showers with the risk of thunderstorms off and on until the end of the day. But for tomorrow, if you're heading to the Grand Parade, there's a chance of isolated showers in the morning, clearing to a mix of sun and clouds late in the day. Hot, humid, and hazy, going up to a high of 30. It's going to feel like 39. So lots of sunscreen and lots of water if you're outdoors. We'll give you a look at the long-range forecast right after the break.
Welcome back. So Nathan, heading into a long weekend, I think the big question for a lot of people here is, are we going to see any showers for anyone heading up to the cottage, checking out the Caribbean Carnival? What is it looking like?
Yeah, I would love to say no. However, we do have rain in some areas. So some places will see it, some places will not. That's a look at our satellite radar. So to the south of us, it's sort of coming our way. It's going to be spotty, but some places are going to get it. And in some areas, a lot. Remember, London, they're talking 50 millimeters. Right now, already a hot one, 26 in Kingston, 24 in Windsor, 26 in Toronto, but it feels like 38. That's the thing, the humidex. It just makes it feel hotter than it really is. And the high already 28, but it's going to feel like 36 for the day. The lows overnight, above normal this time of year. Normally it's around 17, but it's going to be 22 overnight in Toronto, 19 in Peterborough, 19 in Waterloo. And that forecast radar is just showing you that by tomorrow midday, there could be some spotty showers here and there. But then after that, it kind of moves away from us. So It's not going to be a washout. The weekend will be mostly dry, just some possible rain in the morning. So for today, there's a chance of some showers here and there, isolated, the risk of a thunderstorm, the high 28, a hot one. For tomorrow, if you're heading down to the parade, lots of sunscreen, lots of water. It's going to feel like 38, chance of showers in the morning. Looking at, actually, let me go back there. I just ran ahead. Looking at Sunday, and you'll see that there's a sunshine for most of the day, and then it does clear. And then we've got a chance for some rain on our holiday Monday. There we go. We've got a chance for rain on holiday Monday, which is pretty good. And then look at Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You'll notice it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud, and the highs not crazy high. So 24 on Tuesday, 24 Wednesday, 23 Thursday. A little bit below seasonal, but maybe a much needed bit of a cool off and not as humid as well. We'll give you a recap a little bit later on in the show.
Okay.
Well, it's been a year since the city put the brakes on cars in most of High Park.
It was a move designed to improve access to the popular park, but critics say it has done the opposite, and they are appealing to the city to bring vehicles back. It is 400 acres of lush green space and activities, and for a year now, High Park has been car-free on holidays and weekends.
When I go in there on the weekends, I want to cry, because you could drop a bomb in the middle of the park and you wouldn't hit anybody. You see very few older people. Family attendance has dropped.
85-year-old Diane Buckle lives nearby and has been going to High Park for more than 40 years. She has done extensive research and started an Access for All petition, which has nearly 15,000 signatures to allow vehicles. She believes the park's future depends on it.
But a good barometer is the cafe. They have lost 80% of their weekend business year-round.
Other park users also have concerns about limiting vehicles.
They've reduced the number of parking spaces in the park too, and it would be nice to be able to not have to walk very far with heavy equipment.
You know, as a dog walker, I come into the park with my vehicle almost every day, and I definitely appreciate the space that's provided for us to park.
We're only able to come here by car, so that we can park and then we can walk. So it's not allowing cars into the park.
It's a zoo.
Yeah, it doesn't allow for people with disabilities to access it.
I think there's a lot of cyclists. I think they're fighting for the road as well, and it's a bit of a war, between the cars and the cyclists.
For others, it comes down to safety.
There can be designated parking on, the perimeter of the park for these individuals. Maybe there can be really limited shuttle services.
The city says there are 276 parking spaces still in the park and 1,200 spaces within 800 meters of the park. Other changes include sidewalk widening, a new shuttle bus service, and consideration of paid parking.
Suggested to me maybe they want to build condos there. We don't know why they want an empty park. It's a mystery.
Buckle hopes to make her voice heard this weekend with a protest at the park to reverse car-free changes she says weren't needed in the first place. Plans to extend the West Toronto Railpath Trail have received a major boost from the federal government. Ottawa will contribute $23 million in addition to more than $125 million from the city to extend the multi-use trail. It is planned to stretch an additional 2 kilometers from Dundas and Sterling to Abel Street and Sudbury Street. The city says it will also make it easier for commuters to connect to transit options at Bloor Go and the future King Liberty Station. Construction is set to begin next year. Meanwhile, Metrolinx is moving ahead with construction to connect the TTC's Line 2 to Scarborough Centre Station. Over the Labor Day long weekend, the agency plans to remove the Progress Avenue Bridge above McCowan Road to make space for the updated facility at an at-grade intersection. Ramps in the area will be shut down in advance of the demo work as officials plan to reconnect the area to rapid transit after shutting down Line 3 last summer.
Coming up, researchers identify new risk factors for dementia. We've got the details after the break. Stay with us. Some of the best tennis players in the world will be in Toronto starting on Sunday. The women's bracket of the 2024 National Bank Open is being played here. Mississauga's Bianca Andreescu will be among the Canadians competing on home soil. Qualifying is set for Sunday and Monday, with the main draw starting on Tuesday. Iga Swiatek of Poland headlines the field in Toronto as the #1 seed. The men will be playing in Montreal in the hardcourt tournament that was established back in 1881. And for more on this, we're joined by Carl Hale, Tournament Director of the National Bank Open. Good to see you, Carl. I want to start off with the Olympics. What do you think of Canada's play so far?
Well, it's amazing so far. We're in the bronze medal match right now. We're up a set. So hopefully Felix and Gabby can win a bronze medal and Felix win another bronze tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully. So top seed Iga Swiatek's expected at the National Bank Open. What do you think makes her game so special?
She's just physically so dominant. You know, she's been #1 for a few years now. Really exciting player and dominating the women's game. But, you know, we have a whole host of others, including our Canadians, Bianca and Layla and Sabalenka that'll be here. So amazing draw at our tournament. Super excited. I want everybody to support our Canadians. Layla plays on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So if you have time, come out and watch that match in person or live on TV.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch and come out. We're going to get to those Canadians, of course, Carl. I want to talk about Coco Gauff first. How far do you think she can go in this tournament and also in her career?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's just reaching the tip of the iceberg as far as her talent goes. She's coming in on Sunday. Really exciting player, defending U.S. Open champion. She's definitely going to be a #1 in our sport. Hopefully emulate, you know, the results of Serena, which is a big ask, but she'll do really, really well, and the fans are really excited to see her at the National Bank Open.
No question. And then you did mention Bianca Andreescu. How do you think she's playing right now as far as her game?
Yeah, you know, the truth is it's been a tough road for her from 2019 when she won our tournament. A lot of ups and downs. More on the ups right now. She got to the finals of a tournament in June. She's playing really good tennis. She loves to play at home, winning our tournament in 2019. We're hoping to get her match on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. So it depends on the draw, how that works out. But we think she's ready to go deep. If she wins a couple of matches, watch out. You never know what can happen if she can take home another title.
And what about Leylah Fernandez? You mentioned her. It just seems like whenever I watch her, she always plays well, win or lose. What do you think about her game?
Yeah, I mean, she had a pretty good Olympics. She won a couple rounds, beat a couple good players. She's had a decent year. She's in the 30s in the world, so she's doing well. She won the World Team Championship with our Canadians last year, so she's having good results. She's ready to break out and have another tournament like she did at the U.S. Open where she got to the finals. So depending on the draw, I think she can go deep as well.
You know, the Olympics are still happening, and yet you were still able to get so many players to come to this National Bank Open. Why do you think they're attracted to this city?
Well, I think, you know, obviously the city of Toronto, the best city in the world, you know, multicultural. We have best restaurants, fine dining, a lot of activities. And our tournament is the largest one-week tournament in the world. We're moving to 12 days next year. We'll be the largest Masters series in the world. So it's a very prestigious tournament, as you alluded to earlier. 1881, we're the third oldest tournament in the world. So we're highly recognized on the tour as one of the best tournaments. And, you know, there's a lot of prize money, and the players like prize money as well.
Who doesn't like prize money? And you've also got a charity ping pong tournament happening. Is it tomorrow night?
Sunday night, we're doing a small players party.
Right.
We're just, you know, welcoming them to the city. Just get them to gather and have a good time, a good social time, and enjoy Toronto.
How big do you think it would be if a Canadian won this tournament?
Oh, I mean, listen, in 2019, that was the biggest tournament we've ever had. Ticket sales and just, you know, the whole of Canada tuned in to watch Bianca beat Serena in that final. So I think we can eclipse that, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll see that happen.
All right, National Bank Open Tournament Director Carl Hale. Always a pleasure seeing you. Keep up the great work, and good luck over the next, 9 to 10 days.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, scientists are learning more about the development of dementia.
Right, a report in the Lancet Medical Journal uncovers new risk factors to consider. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
Factors like exercise, depression, traumatic brain injury, diabetes, and hearing loss have been looked at in the Lancet before as risk factors for dementia. But in the latest study, vision loss is also added.
So if you're expending all of your energy on just getting the sensory information in there, you have almost less of your brain power to be able to remember and attend and act in the real world. And we think vision works the same way. So that if you have trouble seeing things, in the first place, first of all, it's going to make it harder to encode the information.
Alison Sekuler of the Rotman Research Institute at Baycrest says it also leads to social isolation, another known risk factor for dementia. Cataracts in particular are connected with higher rates of dementia. Cholesterol is also identified as a new factor linked with the development of dementia.
What people think is happening is that the LDL cholesterol, people talk about how you can get your arteries kind of clogged up. You can also get your brain kind of clogged up.
Ngozi Aranya has been her father's caregiver since he was diagnosed with dementia 16 years ago.
Early detection is the best way to get people on the right medications, the right therapies, but also we'll focus on social determinants of dementia. So again, looking at the preventative way and the risk factors that we know to lead to dementia.
She says age and genetics are not risk factors we can change, but individuals and government can help with other factors.
Access to healthcare providers for hearing tests, vision tests, monitoring things like diabetes, mental health supports for depression and anxiety, which we know can also be a risk factor for dementia.
Aranya says Canada already has almost 750,000 people living with dementia. But knowing more about the modifiable risk factors involved allows people to take preventative steps. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
It's the most popular sport in the world. A new program is giving people a chance to enjoy soccer into their older years.
CTV's Krista Simpson explains the story behind walking soccer.
It's soccer with a twist.
Traditionally, people believe after a certain year that their playing days are over, but we want to encourage older adults, seniors to continue playing the game.
That's why the City of Kitchener has launched this walking soccer program, a modified version of the sport being tried in other places, including in Europe. There's no running, no jogging, and no physical contact, and the ball must stay below head height. Perfect for older adults who want to keep playing or even try the game for the first time.
Players don't need to be at a certain level to participate in this sport. It's more a welcoming, safe environment for people just to come in and kick the ball around with friends.
It's a lot of fun for me.
Hitting the pitch, organizer Julio Relajeño's father, who shares the same name.
I'm from El Salvador, and we love the soccer more than anything.
And the benefits go beyond just physical activity. This sport is a chance to also meet people and build community.
It's really important for neighbors and community to get together and to come together around something that they're passionate about. And soccer seems to be one of those things that people are just really passionate about.
And the excitement only expected to grow, with Canada co-hosting the World Cup for the first time in 2026. Taking part is easy, as I found out myself.
Whoa, slow roller!
You don't need any special equipment, just bring your running shoes.
And this sport is beautiful because it's very inclusive and it's simple.
This summer, Kitchener has been offering a drop-in program every Thursday morning at RBJ Schlegel Park. The hope is to offer another session in the fall, getting seniors off the sidelines and on to the field. Krista Simpson, CTV News, Kitchener.
A Montreal man is hoping to sue social media companies for being too addictive.
He is seeking authorization for a class action lawsuit, claiming they are well aware of the harmful effects. CTV's Kelly Gregg reports.
How much is too much? A Montreal man is claiming social media stunted his productivity and damaged his mental health. Now he wants to sue.
He had a lot of issues with it for his self-esteem, his body image as well, productivity.
The lawsuit argues sites like Facebook and Instagram were designed to be addictive, and they were and are aware of the harmful effects of their platforms on the mental health and well-being of their users.
Our claim is that, first of all, they were negligent in producing and creating platforms that are meant to be this addictive, and also knowing that these platforms have an impact on mental health.
Caroline Campo has a master's degree in addiction intervention. She is not involved in this request for the class action suit. She says there is a reason it's hard to stop scrolling.
There's a lot of different techniques that platforms will use to keep us hooked on and keep us online as long as possible. And so, for example, we can scroll to infinity and there's always something else coming up.
But when does social media use become an addiction?
We're on untested territory, so it's hard to say.
The prospective plaintiff was a teenager when he started using social media. A 2023 study found screen time, including on these kinds of sites, can lead to anxiety and depression in children.
A lot of people in those studies actually had a hard time giving it up, but for the people who were able to do it did report more positive mental health outcomes after they have taken time off.
Earlier this year, 11 Ontario school boards filed suit against social media companies, claiming they have negatively affected the way children learn and behave.
There's definitely growing momentum in the public sector to take on technology companies for the harm that they say their social media tools have caused.
But so far, Carmi Levy says none have succeeded.
There have been many attempts to use class action lawsuits like this to hold big tech to account. Even if these cases are ultimately lost, they send a message to legislators that more needs to be done.
CTV reached out to the parent companies of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, but did not hear back by deadline. A judge has not approved the class action lawsuit, and there's no word yet on the damages the plaintiff would be seeking. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
The Toronto Zoo is mourning the loss of one of its newest members. One of the two red panda cubs that were born at the zoo on June 13th died last night. The zoo says the male panda was moved to the intensive care unit after staff observed he was not drinking or eating well. The zoo says the other red panda cub appears to be healthy. Red pandas are an endangered species with less than 10,000 left in the wild.
Still to come, Canadian and U.S. stocks were down in trading this morning. We'll have the details and the rest of your business headlines after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Well, there was always the risk that high-flying tech stocks would go into a slump, and now it's happening. Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the latest in business.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. A sell-off in stocks intensified today after a weak U.S. jobs report, increasing fears that the world's biggest economy is headed for a slowdown. Canadian and U.S. shares were down well over 2% in morning trading. America's NASDAQ 100 index, dominated by big technology companies, hit a milestone. It was down 10% from the July peak, matching the definition of a correction. U.S. unemployment rose to the highest level in nearly 3 years. World oil prices fell to the lowest in almost 6 months as concerns about demand in China and the U.S. overshadowed geopolitical risk. North American crude dropped below $74 US a barrel. Crude prices jumped Wednesday after Israel's killing of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. Gold initially surged to near record highs above $2,450, but then slipped. And finally, one major stock was up today. Apple gained 2%. The company predicted that its new artificial intelligence features will spur iPhone purchases, even as sales faltered in China. Apple returned to revenue growth in its latest quarter with an increase of 5% to just over $85 billion US as iPad sales jumped. But sales in China fell 6.5%. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of B&N Bloomberg.
Intel has cut nearly 15,000 jobs, or about 15% of its workforce. In announcing the layoffs, Intel's CEO said the company has a plan to save $10 billion by 2025. Intel is also suspending its dividend starting in the fourth quarter this year. Intel shares dropped 19% in after-hours trading following the announcement. And video game company Nintendo shared some sluggish financial results for its latest quarter. The Japanese company says operating profit was down 71% over year, well below analyst estimates. Sales of the Nintendo Switch console were down as well as it struggles through the 8th year of its sales cycle. Nintendo has indicated it will announce a successor device sometime this financial year. This comes as the gaming industry as a whole has been grappling with rising costs and weaker pricing power.
Google is planning to implement a new surcharge for online ads displayed in this country. The internet behemoth says it's taking the step in response to Ottawa's new digital services tax on advertisers. Google says the tax increases its costs and it will implement a 2.5% surcharge on clients to cover that financial hole. A trade group representing Canadian advertisers has warned other companies could follow Google's lead. It's only the second day of August, but some families are already thinking ahead to September, getting started on back-to-school shopping.
With just weeks to go before kids head back to the classroom, parents are taking advantage of early deals amid the high cost of living. CTV's Caitlin Wilson has the story.
Jenna McRae is on the hunt for deals. She's getting a head start on back-to-school shopping with her 2 kids.
I'm a single mom, so I definitely look around, look at different stores, try to figure out where I can get, the best bang for my buck.
And when it comes to clothes and shoes, it seems like just about everything is on sale from 20 to 50% off. A dream for bargain hunters as inflation pushes up the price.
It's hard, so I try to start looking at different clothes earlier in the summer and try to, just plan it out that way.
And community organizations like Equal Chance already collecting school supplies for students in need.
We get contacted by many families who need support. They need backpacks, they need pencils, pen, all sorts of things for school. And we've seen over the years a rise of requests for backpacks.
Retail analysts say, on average, the cost of clothing has increased 15% over the past 4 years. And when it comes to shoes, that's also up 10 to 15%.
Now, inflation's went down a little bit. It's not as high overall as it was the last 2 years, but still prices remain elevated.
A Deloitte back-to-school survey shows on average parents will spend $586 per student, down slightly from last year as more parents look for deals.
One of the key themes, the biggest theme, is that parents are looking to do back-to-school cheaper. If it's not a good deal, they're not going to buy it this year. So I think you're seeing all the retailers gearing up for that.
And as shoppers look to save wherever possible, more people are turning to apps and social media, up 8% from last year, as parents like Jenna take advantage of early discounts with one goal in mind.
Just go in and look around and try to find the best deals.
Caitlin Wilson, CTV News.
Coming up, the Olympics are well underway in Paris. CTV News caught up with a Team Canada sailor representing the country once again on the world stage. That story after the break. A Burlington athlete is taking to the water to represent Canada at the Paris Olympics.
CTV's Andrea Case caught up with a 30-year-old sailor who is charting her course to the podium.
Burlington's Sarah Douglas feels right at home on the water. As a competitive sailor, it's second nature to her.
Well, I grew up on the island of Barbados, so with the ocean in the backyard, it was just kind of a easy thing, and my whole family learned at the same time, and we just fell in love with the sport. Being out in the water, being in the environment, and we just love the water.
Douglas competes in the laser radial, or the ILCA 6 category. It's a small single-sail boat, only about 14 feet long, which she commands solo, making her both captain and crew. She won gold at the Pan Am Games in 2019 and silver in 2023. In Tokyo, she finished 6th, making Olympic history as the best ever result for a Canadian woman in an individual sailing event. The 30-year-old says it's an honor to represent Canada for the second time at the Olympics.
It is so cool to represent Team Canada and everything that we represent as a nation as well.
It's not the easiest event to compete in. The veteran athlete says there's a lot of logistics involved in getting her boat to where it needs to be.
I'm a bit all over. In the sport of sailing, we really focus on trying different locations and wind patterns, and we're kind of like searching after different conditions. So, for example, for the Paris Olympics, I'm spending a lot of time in Marseille because we're going to be competing in the south of France. It's really important for us to spend time at the venue and learn that.
You can cheer on Douglas as she competes from now until August 6th. Andrea Case, CTV News.
And so we are still looking at a chance of showers this afternoon, Nathan. Everyone really hoping it clears in time for the long weekend.
Yeah, it should clear by, I guess, afternoon on Saturday, but it is a concern in some areas, especially in London. They're talking 50 millimeters of rain, so heavy.
Wow.
But for the most part, I think we're going to be okay. And you can see the system there to the south of us moving our way. So, yeah, some areas definitely going to be hit by rain. And like I said, hitting very hard in London. And that's why you've got the watches and warnings for pretty much a lot of southern Ontario there. Looking at conditions right now, it is warm, 26 in Toronto, 25 in Oshawa, 27 up north in the Kawarthas if you're heading up there. Feels like 38, so yeah, the humidex, so lots of sunscreen, lots of water if you're outside. And that's the case for tomorrow on the day of the parade. But the rain will clear by the afternoon and also for Sunday, but it's going to feel hotter. For holiday Monday, there's a chance of showers, but it's going to be around normal, 27 degrees. And then for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, highs of 24 and then 23. Things kind of back to normal, maybe even a little bit cooler, but overall, not too bad.
Okay.
Well, that's it. That's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. I'm Natalie Johnson.
And I'm Nathan Dowd. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.